Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sohum Reactions. Peace, love, and positivity to you. Today's request comes from Renat, who has sent us an additional two songs from Asaf Avidan. For these tracks, My Latest Sin and No Words, I'll also be attempting to lyrically analyze these line by line, so hopefully at the end we can come away with some better understanding. Because we all know that Asif and his artistry deserves all of that attention. He is such a beast when it comes to pretty much anything I can think of. He wears a million different hats and excels at all of them. Think of him as a songwriter, a composer, a lyricist, a philosopher, a vocalist, an instrumentalist. Literally anything you want to insert in there, it'll work for this man. I can't pay him enough compliments. I don't know. I would rather save all of the positive praise I have for him for the video, and whatever his artistry evokes within me will kind of come pouring out. But before we jump into My Latest Sin, we'll actually be checking out a brief interview clip of his to sort of prime us for the performance. So once again, thank you to Renat for the generous request, and hope all is well with you. Without further ado, my friends, let's jump into it.
So about my about my time as a voice actor, I don't think I take anything from that period except the fact that the voice has a wide range of use. I think that's the only real thing, the technical aspect of it. It's kind of like about the gender, it's a spectrum. It's like one spectrum of
Yeah.
my voice can express one feeling, but if I go to a different part, it expresses something else. And the register of the human voice.
I kind of I remember like early on in my journey, his voice was referred to as being more androgynous. So he's able to kind of emulate the male and female voice. And now that he's tying it to emotion, it actually makes so much sense because baked into the frequency range that each part of the, average male voice can reach or average female voice can reach, you have emotions as well. I actually never thought of it in terms of uh, that continuum before, but it makes perfect sense. Also, he mentioned the voice acting. It reminds me. So apparently, Asif was the voice actor for Yugi in Yu-Gi-Oh, and I remember as a kid, I loved Yu-Gi-Oh. I used to watch the show like every Saturday whenever I could catch it. I even had like all of the cards, and this ties into a random story that I want to share now. In elementary school, I had a bunch of the god cards. I think there was like Ra and Obelisk the Tormentor and a few others that were like top tier. And I owned the real ones. And some kid at the playground, he was like in fourth grade at the time, I was in second. He found out that I had these cards, and he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, I have even better cards for you. If you want to trade, it'll be worth your while." And I was super naive and gullible. I believed him, and we made the exchange the following day. I gave him all my good cards, and he gives me a printout, not even cut out, by the way, but a printout of like 7 to 9 like different ultra god cards, all of their names written in like Chinese or something. No color. It wasn't even color printer, black and white. He makes the exchange. I'm looking at the cards, and I look up. He's gone. Never saw him again. I I was very sad to say the least. I got scammed. It taught me a valuable lesson, never give your Yu-Gi-Oh cards away. Anyways,
Go to a different part, it expresses something else. And the register of the human voice, it implies so many different emotions. And then there's the timbre of it, tone of it, but there's also the intensity of it, from a whisper
yeah,
to a scream, there's
very
all of
complex.
that. I think that's the one thing I take from 13 years of voice acting is that sense that I'm not ashamed to try anything with my voice. I need it just as a paintbrush to express whatever emotion or thought I need to express.
I like that. Using the analogy of using it as a paintbrush. It's the voice is a tool to communicate emotion. The same way written text, if I'm, journaling, that is also a tool to express my emotion. The same way if I were to literally paint, it's an expression of emotion. And art in all of its forms is a series of unique transmuted functions that take whatever we feel internally and transplant it externally. And when it becomes external, now the entire world can perceive it the way they understand. And what's unique about art too is sometimes you will try to communicate one thing internally and fail, from your own lens externally, but the world receives it well. And there's many different permutations of that mismatch in reality. Sometimes the artist intends one thing and the world gets exactly what's intended, but again, that's like intrinsically the beauty in art, is that there are so many possible interpretations, and a great piece of art will evoke quite many of them. So interesting to hear Asif come at it from the lens of voice acting to uncover the different, I guess, qualities that the voice has to help generate that art. Um, he's always super insightful. So let's jump into the first track here. This is going to be My Latest Sin from this cool Paris show in 2014. By the way, all the links are in the description box below.
Merci. Thank you.
I like that he lets the notes ring out. Beautiful. He just sat down and just started playing this beauty. Few words were exchanged.
Just like distant thunder, my conscience is rolling in the back of my head.
Oh, like rolling thunder? I like
But
that.
your lips, they keep riding on in the darkness. Our guns on the floor near the makeup and clothes that we share. Honey, we both trail our own path, but the grass is run out of hiding way. See, I used to think I rolled with the devil, but I'm left on my own, 'cause even he hasn't shown up these days.
Wow.
Don't cry, my latest sin.
Oh my god. Like the punctuation in that single strum to then belt out. How can you deny the artistry? Whew.
Don't cry, my latest sin.
Just pierces through the atmosphere, man.
I don't bear that righteous beam. A honeycomb, your word is so no.
Oh.
Are the demons and angels left us here all alone? I'm much like crickets in the sunrise. My guilt is fading in the depth in my chest.
Dude, I
And your
love this.
empire is crumbling all around us.
My thoughts are already racing around these lyrics.
But we're pressed on a wall. We don't care about the fall of the rest. Honey, I
calmness and the sincerity with which he delivers these lines between the belts, it's almost better than the belts, because how often do you hear someone just fully break down in their performance? Like, truly, a lot of singers, vocalists, they are good at being grandiose and belting and doing the impressive on the surface thing. And there's a lot of merit to doing that. I will always praise a great vocalist. But when you can get subdued, when you can quiet things down, when you can almost make it feel like we're having a conversation where if I were talking to Asaf Avidan one on one, he's breaking down in front of me. Maybe it's like the inner empath in me that just can't help but feel exactly what he's feeling. There's an authenticity that's unmistakable when he enters that place. And then when he channels that energy into the belt, you get the entire spectrum of human emotions, just like he was kind of alluding to in that interview clip. If he's quiet, if he's calm, that exhibits a certain emotion. If he's loud and upset and just boisterous, that's another set of emotions. And we as humans, we have all of them. So why not in our performance traverse the entire gamut?
So we're built on old rivers. Maybe that's why I'm lost, 'cause I just can't carry on with the flow. Don't cry,
The croak within
my
that,
lady, sing.
then he flips into the cry, literally singing cry.
Righteous me.
It's like he's squeezing the life out of his voice, channeling it up even higher. This pterodactyl
All the
mode.
demons and angels
It's
left us
absurd.
here all alone. All the demons and angels left us here all alone. All the demons and angels left us here.
Oh, dude, the power into that belt, then the sustain, the continued vibrato, then the squeeze, and then the flip into the bluesier end. How do you do all of that? How do you do all of that and not run out of energy? Like, he does this for an entire set list here. An hour and 15, he's just going to be blasting away with his voice emotionally. Oh, dude, I love Asaf Avidan so much. I hope one day I'll get a chance to like speak with him. I don't need all that much time. I just need to communicate how much his work means to me and the good that I think he's doing for this world. And I would just urge him to continue doing all of the amazing things that he's doing. Let's let's jump into the lyrics here. I'm kind of anxious to get into them. So we start with just like a distant thunder, my conscience is rolling in the back of my head. I like obviously the double entendre of the thunder rolling, like your eyes rolling in your head, your eyes being the thunder, but it's rolling thunder. And actually, technically, it's a triple entendre if you think about World War II B-52 bombers, rolling thunder. That was often what they would call the bombs dropping from above. I don't think that's the third direction for this one, but something to consider there. My conscience is rolling in the back of my head, but your lips keep riding on in the darkness. This is where I hit my first snag in terms of interpretation. Your lips keep riding on in the darkness. Because you think of lips, you think of what they do, they speak. It's a attempt at getting across one's thoughts, but keep riding on in the darkness, in the unknown, because the only way I'm going to find where you are is if you speak out to me. Otherwise, my eyes are closed, I can't see you. Again, my eyes rolled back into my head. And so to see you, I'm going to need to hear you. Oh, to find you, I'm going to need to hear you. Our guns on the floor near the makeup and the clothes that we shed. So I think of makeup and clothes being on the floor as a removal of the facade that we have on, right next to the guns, which previously were used for violence to impose some level of authority, maybe as protection, but come on, who are we kidding? Most people, they buy weapons to hurt others, and now as a result, you have to buy weapons to protect yourself. But the endless cycle of violence, unfortunately, can continue. We both trail our own paths, but the grass has worn out our parting ways. That's an interesting way to describe that. So, like, a path is a trail, but we're trailing our own path, trying to recover where we ought to go in our lives. But the grass has worn out our parting ways. Worn out implies to me that we are no longer able to recover where we came from, where that divergence happened, because the grass is now overgrown and we look back, we can't find each other. No, the visual is no longer going to help us. Again, the eyes rolling back, maybe the voice can bring us there. And I used to think I rode with the devil, but I'm left on my own. And I thought the path I was going on was sending me to hell, sending me to Tartarus. But turns out it was all my doing. There was no devil on my back. In fact, the devil I conjured, it was my own defense mechanism to allow myself to continue down the path I was going. But if I strip all of that away, drop the facade, I realize it's actually me. The mask was never the devil to begin with. It's a stand-in for our own lack of accountability. Even he hasn't shown up these days. Don't cry my latest sin. I don't buy that self-righteous being. Don't cry my latest sin. Don't cry almost feels like a command to the latest sin. I don't buy that self-righteous being. So I think the latest sin is himself. So he's kind of soothing himself, don't cry. And I don't believe myself at the same time because I'm the self-righteous one. It really depends on the what the actual sin is. I think with Asaf, he's always going to leave it a little bit more ambiguous. But I'm going to treat it as the self. Calm your worried soul. The demons and angels left us here all alone. So this is almost like a sort of assurance that, hey, don't worry. It's not some external force making me do these things. It's actually within. I am my own moral compass, so to speak. And your soul doesn't have to worry. Maybe you have to worry. Maybe we aren't compatible with one another, or for whatever reason, we bring out the worst in one another. But know that this isn't any of your doing. It's not the doing of some god, some angel, some demon, some devil. It is me in my human form. Much like crickets at the sunrise, my guilt is fading in the depth of my chest. Now, this is a line too that I was thinking of like two possible interpretations, because like when I think of the feeling that you get in your chest, oftentimes you think of getting the story or the feeling off of your chest, sharing whatever's on your mind, and all of a sudden you feel that levity. But it's interesting for the guilt to fade within. It's like I had the guilt at the surface, and somehow I've been able to minimize that guilt over time with the recognition that maybe the onus is on me to improve my standing. And I wonder if it even matters which interpretation you take, if it's the devil causing you to do something, or you realize that it's yourself causing you to do the problematic thing. Does it matter what happens with the guilt in either situation? Maybe, maybe not. But if you can learn to practically squash that guilt and do something affirmative and the positive for yourself and the world, then holding on to the guilt doesn't necessarily serve us as individuals. In fact, it can keep us kind of locked down. But it really just depends on the implication. Like I said, you could take it either way. Your empire is brought down around us. The your is interesting because, like, I feel like you could be talking to the self here. You could be talking to the other person on the split path. I skipped too far. Your empire is brought down around us, but we're pressed on the wall and don't care about the fall of the rest. Not sure about that one. I pray you find your old path, but mine was lost so long ago. Why is it your empire brought down around us? But we're pressed on the wall, like the walls of the empire. What does it mean to be pressed on the walls in that situation? It's like my concern is only about us two. Maybe that's what it is. Like we're the only two people in consideration right now. Which is reasonable, I suppose. So he lost his path long ago. They say old roads were built on old rivers. Maybe that's why I'm lost. Yeah, because like then the roads collapse and then fall into the river, and the river washes away all the remnants, and then you're no longer able to see any evidence of a path before. So if you were to try to reverse engineer where you came from, you wouldn't even be able to do it. This kind of reminds me of, I guess, a situation I'm going through now. It's not necessarily a situation, but I guess I worded it like that. I recently moved into a new apartment, but I'm living in an area that I used to live in almost 10 years ago. And it's really interesting walking down the same paths that I used to walk down when I had, a different life, set of life experiences and just had a different life period. And now I'm in that same place, but new buildings, unrecognizable faces, the same me? Question mark, question mark. It's usually a version of me that's carried through, but also a new version of me that's blossomed from within. But you're in that place now trying to figure out how you were then, and reverse engineering where you were isn't so easy anymore. Just like time washing away um, all of the old paths, now you can't even find your way back to where you were. You just have to keep moving forward. So I kind of think of it like that too. It's not that it may feel bleak to not be able to find whence you came, but I think it's also worth forging whatever's to come, like moving through life with intention and recognizing that I am in control. I have agency here. It's all very complicated stuff, but worthwhile. Then where are we? So maybe that's why I'm lost, because I can't carry on with the flow. Don't cry my latest sin. I don't buy that self-righteous being. Calm your worried soul. The demons and angels left us here all alone. That's a beautiful song. I feel like I'm 85% of the way there in terms of the broad interpretation. I'm going to do a handy dandy Google and see if I can't find any additional meaning that I may have lost here. Let's see. I'm going to go do this. All right. My Latest Sin is a 2008 folk rock ballad by Israeli singer-songwriter Asaf Avidan. The song is a deeply emotional, stripped-down dialogue between two lovers who are painfully aware that their relationship is over, yet still hopelessly entangled with one another. Avidan affectionately yet bitterly refers to his lover as his latest sin. This metaphor points to an addictive, forbidden, or doomed romance that he knows is bad for him, yet he keeps coming back to it. Oh, I see. He tells his lover not to cry, that and that he doesn't buy into her guilt or sudden need to act righteous or innocent. Both of them share the blame for their toxic connection. I see. So, part of me, because I was thinking of the two paths, part of me was thinking it was going to be about relationships, but oftentimes with Asif, the way that I apply his lyrics will have to do more with the relationship with the self. I think it works too, by the way, with a toxic ex. I pray you find your path. I think that you could be them, it could be yourself. It's interesting too, because when you think of like a toxic relationship, you want to cast the blame on the other, but you also have to cast the blame on the self. Similar to the way we were talking about interpreting art, it's usually a reflection. So the way that they are treating you may be a way that you treat yourself, and vice versa. So, if anything, one is complicit in the toxic relationship. We still don't. We still don't. How can I word this? We're still not going to tolerate problematic behavior. There comes a limit to what toxicity should or shouldn't be tolerated. Um, but I think it's important to note the dynamics that unfold between two people going back and forth for however long. And then in reflection, you can say, this path, I don't even know how I got here, because I walked this path forward and the path grew behind me as I was walking. And somehow we diverged, but we called out for one another and we found our way to one another again. But again, there are no angels, there are no demons. It is simply myself, and in the case of two people, it is you and I who contributed to the breakdown, not some external source. Wow. That one got me thinking. Let's jump into the next track. This is going to be No Words from the Legrand Studio RTL performance.
These endless powers, forgive me.
Gentle vibrato.
For so, if I could, I would change nothing except this world in which we cry, and I can't hear no words, and they're spinning over saturated blood. Damn all the wildflowers.
See, I have no words right now.
Forgiven us so sure. And if I could, I would change something inside your eyes when you were mine. And I need no word,
Oh my god.
and then spinning over saturated blood.
I love that he's so patient in developing the melody.
Damn these senseless hours.
Chills.
Give me this song. If I would have nothing except this world in which we cry. And I can't hear no words, and they're spinning oversaturated light. I can't hear no words, and they're spinning oversaturated light.
It's like I've been holding my breath. Oh, wow. That's good. Even when the thing that I love about Asaf's vocal performances, like when he gets into that like belty place, like I mentioned before, it evokes that power. You hear the brutality in the emotions that he's feeling, and you feel it yourself. And in a song like this, where it's even more of a ballady ballad, where he's showing more emotional restraint and just letting the melody and words carry the emotion, it's like it becomes like a trio instead of a solo, because he's allowing the lyrics again to carry a lot of that emotional weight. He's allowing the melody to carry a lot of that emotional weight. It's like they're all hand in hand with one another, and it doesn't detract at all from the performance. I feel like a lot of the time people mistake the contribution of the voice when it comes to like being very loud or being very quiet as a singer's inability to perform at that level all the time, or they prefer if the singer does the belting thing at every single point, or whatever style that they often appreciate about that artist. People will wish that that's the only thing that they hear from them, or at least disproportionately they would like to hear it. And I get where that's coming from, but if you actually allow each element of the art to, again, carry its weight, in terms of performance, it actually allows Asif to take a little bit of a step back without dampening any of the impact. In fact, if, a song like this, you could perform it in a more grandiose way too. And that's why we love live performances. You can re-envision a song any number of ways depending on the emotional requirement of Asif on that day. Because this very song could be sung with more bravado, even more pain. But the fact that it's more in this place of like emotional stasis, relatively speaking, especially if we just compare it to what we had before, it just shows you how many like dimensions of chess this man is playing above the standard performer. Um, yeah, he sounds brilliant doing either. So that just goes to show like how much this man has in his repertoire. I was getting emotional towards the end there. Let's jump into the lyrics. Damn these endless powers for giving me false hope. If I could, I would change nothing except the world in which we cry. I can't hear no words in the spinning over saturated blur. So the endless powers, I think even throughout the song, like as I was taking in the lyrics, the endless powers seemed a little bit amorphous to me. But whatever underlying larger structures there are to the way that we operate societally, all of these things are building us up, giving us false hope, because the reality is unfortunately far more bleak. and they're kind of doling out this hope without any actual addressing of the real problems at hand. And hope without solution, yes, it does provide you some air of safety, especially emotionally for the moment, but it doesn't necessarily move the needle in a tangible way until something is done to rectify the wrong in that world. So if there isn't change that manifests in the world where we do cry, then the types of things that caused us to cry in the first place now are likely to repeat. You know that saying like history repeats itself, and I think there's another saying um, where history may not rhyme, or sorry, it may not repeat, but it certainly does rhyme. So if there are a set of underlying circumstances that or conditions that produce the circumstances we experience now, if we don't change those conditions, we will repeat the cycle. But there's no time to repeat. Every single second counts if we're going to positively impact our generation, the next generations. It's an alignment issue, unfortunately. Um, Damn all the wildflowers for giving up so short. I like immediately, without any other context, I think of the wildflowers as free spirits in this world. And even the free spirits, even though their fire burns for a long time, it burns extremely bright, even those flames can dampen over time. And if you give up at any point, that's the mistake. Life is hard, life is long, and there's so much change to affect. If we don't show the resilience, not only to each other, but to ourselves, then at some point, this entire thing breaks down. That's just what it is. Like, I can think of my own life and the many times in which I've let it all kind of collapse around me. If I just take my hands off the steering wheel completely, things go terribly. They go terribly for me, they go terribly for my family, my friends, anybody who matters, which is everybody. So I'd say let's be chalant. Let's do our level best all the time and see what happens. I feel like if we all did that, this world would look a lot better, a lot quicker. But who am I? If I could, I would change something inside your eyes when you were mine. Let's see what he wants to change within this individual. But I can't hear no words in this spinning oversaturated blur. And it's interesting too, not being able to hear the words. It's like somehow the communication is short-circuited. It's not bi-directional, which it ought to be. It's unidirectional. I'm projecting my thoughts out, but I'm not receiving feedback. It's no longer a dynamic system reliant on both of our unique perspectives. In fact, if it were, then maybe we would actually see eye to eye, and once the bridge of empathy is built, we can actually rectify a lot of the wrongs quicker. But I can't hear the words in this spinning, oversaturated blur. It's also a beautiful way just to describe the earth spinning, oversaturated, potentially overpopulated, though I don't think he's going down the anti-natalist approach, but then ending it with a blur. It's all rather amorphous. Damn these senseless hours of looking for a song. Senseless, wildflowers, endless. So he rhymes the endless with senseless. If I knew, then I would have nothing except this world in which we try. Wow, that's... I didn't understand it the first time around, but it seems like that gets to our collective identity in this world. What is the meaning of us, period? Because if I had all of the answers right away, then what's the point of everything? We wouldn't have anything. We wouldn't have hope, we wouldn't have aspirations, we wouldn't have dreams, because it would all already be exactly as it should. But because there is this endless cosmic level of friction between what I need and what I want and what I currently have, then the fight continues. I will continue to look for that song. I will continue to try to right the wrongs and hang my hat on hope and then try to move the needle practically. Because without all of that, there would be no point. And I can't hear no words in the spinning, oversaturated blur. I think that's the end of it. So, I can't hear no words. That's like the operative. I mean, that's the song title. Clearly, it's going to have more meaning. Well, maybe not more, but an important amount of that meaning in the song. I can't hear no words. What does that mean? I thought about it as like the mismatch in communication, but the other context in this song doesn't necessarily lend itself to that interpretation. I think again I will try to ask my friend Google here and see if we can't get some understanding. But awesome songs or not, this was an awesome request. No Words explores the frustration of having deep, chaotic, and messy emotions that defy logical explanation. Avidan wrote it during the pandemic lockdown, concluding that it wasn't his lack of lyrical skill, but rather the amorphous nature of the feelings themselves that made them inexpressible. Okay, no words to express the feeling. Okay, it's so crazy the way that we can interpret these songs differently. Because I was thinking about it as more of like a change in the world, but he's kind of trying to seek out the label for his feelings. And art is one of the best ways to attempt that. So if you're going to try to figure out what's going on within, trying to have some artistic outlet, I think is necessary. I always say, like, it's probably important that we all have a physical activity and an intellectual activity, a spiritual activity, and a creative activity to round us all out, and maybe a social one too. I'm probably missing a pillar or two, but those seem to be pretty comprehensive altogether. And creativity is, I think, an underused muscle in a lot of just the world today. Doesn't help that we have to exist in this like super capitalistic structure that dampens our curiosity out the gate. We go into schools where we're made to be worker droids rather than free thinkers and people who can change the world in ways that weren't conceivable to those who constructed the pathways that exist now. But yeah, do something artistic to try to express what's within, and even if you fail at that, that is a worthwhile endeavor. I think there's also an interesting sort of mismatch in expectations that artists have with their own creations. They can expect often that they will perfectly represent how they feel internally on the outside, and oftentimes that just isn't the case. Artists can fail at that attempt so many times and maybe get it right once. I've heard, I read this primary source all the way back in my French class. We were doing a French art history unit, and one of the artists who I read a quote from in French, it's such a convoluted, I know, he wrote that even if through his art he can't achieve the self, the attempt was the self. Something to that along those lines. Yeah, I probably talked y'all's ear off. I don't know how correct I am on these interpretations. Even with what Google gave me, there's a possibility that it's wrong as well. So please let me know in the comment section what you think. But I'm going to end it there. I hope y'all enjoyed the reaction today. If you'd like to request one yourself, you can do so by using the first link in the description box below. That is the best way to support my channel. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care and peace.